Welcome back to Robertson Catan, the Elite Circuit first tourney. We are about to watch semis match three with Brian's perspective. This is going to be red right here. Um, you know, Brian's had a rocky history where he's been a very talented player, hasn't been able to get an actual tournament championship under his belt, but very much capable of doing it, right? So we're going to see what happens here. He's in the semis, taking on Aaron Wan and Arnold 25 here, black and blue. He's gonna try his luck, and we'll see. We'll see what happens here. It should be an interesting one as we get going right here in his position and see if what he does lines up with what we think should happen. Um, so first placement here is black, going for pretty standard. I think it's a pretty good spot. I think there's a very low or board here, so I might defer to maybe the 10 4 8 at the top, pointing to the left, or port, brick port, and that does get taken. But not pointing down here, it's different because it's threes, and that as red here, we have the obvious spots of 9 5 6 at the bottom, and then obviously the 6 suite at the top is very strong. I don't really want anyone else to get that, so I kind of wall lock people out. So I think 3 9 6 is a definite here, and then maybe getting the and yeah, we see Brian kind of aiming for that. And probably here he's going to try to go for the free road on the second settlement and go up to the 10 or and try to race. He could alternatively just go straight for the cutoff and go 4 5 10 right above this spot that he's trying to pick here and point to the left, and hopefully he gets the race off to that board that way. But I think it's probably safer to not directly race and just like give yourself options. So here, yeah, he locks off the wheat. I think it's very, very strong. The other's going to have to kind of fight it out. The downside with this is obviously the 6 week could very much be hit, but he does go for the free road anyways with the ore production. Um, Makes sense here actually, and then he definitely already has a sheet production, so he doesn't need it again. Getting a little bit of ore, getting a little bit of a point towards some more ore and wheat. That's smart. Going for the 3 for 1 port there, and yeah, I think overall should be a good one, good setup for Ryan here as red, and blue going for the 8 4 3 at the bottom right. Yeah, I can get behind that as well. Coordinated fours for the road is very nice. And also obviously pointing down to that wood port 2 for 1, which, obviously will allow for a ton of, trades by themselves, port trades, because they'll also be pointing towards that 5 wood spot and probably will be the only ones to get there. Um, so a very strong setup by blue. I would be talking to black here if I was Brian, and I would try to see what we could do to work together. But ooh, already a battle for that wood port, and this will be an expensive one. And I think Brian here is going to be chilling. So Brian's will gladly take probably that 11 10 3 with the 2 wheat when the time comes. Uh, and obviously a ton of space for him as well on the left, 5 9 6 9 12. So a lot of options here for sure. Okay. So here I would probably just hold. You can get up to 9 and be comfortable. You could also just place a road and commit. But there's no reason to commit because it only makes you look stronger. But he goes for it anyway. It's not a horrible move by any means. There are upsides and downsides. And 8 rolls, that's huge for people. 4 rolls, the coordinated woods, but it's too late in this case. So black does get there. And that's huge actually for the game itself because black won't be able to utilize that wood port as much as blue would have. So very good that black got there for Brian's game here. And yeah, and blue takes that road and goes for the extra ore production, which makes sense. And yeah, here the 11 hits and almost in the city. Uh, and the 7 rule. So moving it off in the huge city, huge early city. Now that's really bad news for us as red here. Early cities are always scary, and we'll have to see. I mean, it's tough because black doesn't have any sheep production, but you know, we'll see. I mean, it'll take some time to, I guess, get there all the way. So, but we definitely don't want them to settle very easily, and they won't be able to unless they get a sheep, right? So, don't trade them sheep, and it'll delay it hopefully long enough. And now hitting only blue, which is good because now that means that we as red aren't seen as a threat, where the 6 wheat might have been hit or the 9 sheep. Uh, but yeah, instead here going for the 4 brick, blocking the coordinator roads for blue. Strong play by black here. And obviously, all 3 players here are very experienced, right? Obviously, red and black have a ton of experience with the Robbers of Catan League, and blue here is new to the circuit, but very experienced in his own right. We're getting a lot of experienced players these days, and we love to see it. And now 2 dev cards in hand, 8 resources, decisions to make, but I don't know. It's kind of tough to just pull a dev card when you can so easily get a city. But the cities are tough, right? You need to hope for an 11 randomly to appear. At this point, with the robber kind of going around, I actually would probably just get a dev card here. If it's a knight, it's all good because there are no more dev cards here, so no one else can place it back on you if you use a knight. So yeah, I think correct play here by red. 2 dev cards and both of them are knights, which I wouldn't necessarily have gone for 2. I would have probably stuck at 1 because then I have the option to settle. Like here, I could have settled if I was red, and maybe that would have been preferable, right? It would have been made the city even faster, although it might have blocked the 11 more often. And it turns out Brian accidentally bought 2, which is believable. And the 9 here. So the good thing about Brian's setup is he has a ton of production on every resource, except for maybe you could argue ore, but no one really has ore production, and he's going to try to get to the 3 for 1 fort to get that going. And using an aggressive knight here. I don't necessarily agree, but it's not terrible. I think if he was trying to specifically go for the ore, then that was the correct play. But hard to say. See, now the 7 already rolls, and it's kind of a waste of a knight in some regards, right? Um, and stealing from Aaron. So it's good that blue and black are kind of going at it against each other. Kind of keeps the target off of red, and we can roll here. And we can settle. I think the settle is the obvious choice. I think there's no reason not to. Getting 3 extra spots of production, 2 extra wheat, it's huge. Wheat is always important. I think the next step here after this would be to try to luck into a city or build towards the 3 for 1. Um, and both of those should be very possible to do. And after that, you probably want to see if you can expand a little bit uh, to that 9-6 before black gets there, right? Black's going to prioritize getting the wood port, probably. So you can probably beat them in the race there. So we'll see. And then 8 is rolled, and okay. Another dev card is probably appropriate here, like Brian is aiming for. But no, doesn't go for it. I probably would have gone dev card because you need to build roads before you can settle. So there's no real point in holding for the settlement at this point, unless you're hoping to roll for 2 more wood after this. So probably would go dev here, but that's okay. Three, 3 for 1 port. Four for 1. Okay, so it was a 4 for 1, taking the sheep, necessary sheep to eventually settle, and blue here moves the robber to the six brick, steals from Brian, and not terrible for us, but oh, what happened here? Okay, so we didn't get anything here with an eight, but that's okay. Buying a death card here, which is smart. I think that should have probably been done last turn. But here is probably even more pressing because it's on the six brick, right? So that's really annoying. Um, Probably here want to hit. So I see the aggressive knight from a four by Brian to place on to eight wood was probably because he didn't want black to have any road building at all. And now here, obviously, black is taking advantage of the fact that they've locked down that 2-for-1 wood port, which isn't even super valuable, and taking over the 9-6-12, which is smart. I do agree with that order of placement. And here, settlements in hand can road settle for the 3-for-1, and I think that's what I would do if I was Brian here. Move the robber first, probably. Think it might have been an accident that he didn't, but that's okay. He's gonna keep it there, maybe. Maybe he finds that brick isn't as valuable to him right now, and he'd rather use his knight in a more important spot. Uh, but here I think the standard play is always to um, move the thing, but it works out in this case. Black has to move it anyways, and we'll probably move it. Oh, for 11 ores. So would not have expected it, but it does make sense wanting to prevent the city. Um, but uh, yeah, blue had the ore probably, which makes sense. And uh, yeah, fair plays all around. Red here, getting largest army, pretty easy to do. Three dev cards and three knights. Gonna hope for no more dev cards though after this. Um, let's see, what are we doing here? Okay, and able to get a road out of this. What do we do with the road, though? Okay. I think what's happening here is Brian is trying to go for longest road passively. I think out of everyone, he is the one who can most likely get it because he's the only one who can connect both of his segments of settlements here. So I think that'll be very valuable for him if he can pull it off. Um, the natural spots here are the 4-9-11 and then connects through. And there's no reasonable chance that anyone would want to even race for road here. If we are able to get road, we'll be at eight, and that's a very strong position. But obviously here we are the target. That said, right, with all the dev cards being pulled here, it's very possible that one of them has non-knight, and therefore probably will lead to a victory point. So, it's closer than it looks. Uh, and the dev card game is going to be a factor here for everyone. It's going to be about who can really get that ore, right? The ore is the limiting factor for everyone in terms of production and city capabilities and dev card capability. So the port's going to be valuable. Only a 3-for-1 port for red here, and blue and black with a 2-for-1 wood port upcoming. Blue with no ports. I think that will harm them in the long run. Especially with the lack of wheat production here. I think blue might be in big trouble. In that case, right, if we're red and we see that maybe blue's in a bit of trouble, having to 4-for-1 for wheat, um, we might go for black more targetedly, right? So perhaps hitting the 8 wood a lot more, or even if it comes down to it, stacking all together and hitting the 10 wheat. All of these things kind of make sense, and uh, there's no right or wrong here at this point, I don't think. But here, trying to propose a trade to maybe get. Oh, yeah, okay. Doesn't really happen, but that's okay. Like, yeah, okay. So, oh, we're gonna pause here. So probably road here is an option, but yeah, passing is risky, but I get it because you don't want people to think you're too strong and necessarily project which way you're going to want to go here. Although I suspect he's going to go left to the 4-9-11. And now a huge settlement for black here with the 3-for-1 going and another settlement, two big settlements. So black if he didn't matter because they got to the sheep spot and they're in the best position here. And if I'm red, I would be talking about teaming up with blue and taking black down here because without even largest army and longest road, even though longest road is coming up, they'll loop around here and they'll be able to connect, and that'll be scary. They'll be at 8 and 10 just like that if they can get them both. And I don't think they'll get largest army, but they will get largest road. They will compete for it. So it'll be a battle here. And blue here already committing to the same spot that I'm sure Brian wants to go to. So here Brian can settle if he wants. So I think he should. So road and settle, you'd have to do a 3-for-1 with the wheat to get the sheep, but I think that's a pretty obvious move here. Locking down longest road locking yourself into the race for longest road at least. Um, and this completely destroys blue, and I think Arnold 25 here has the wrong read actually. I don't think Brian could run away. I think without the cities, especially with the 11 ore being hit so much, it's Black's game to lose easily. Uh, but it is close. It is close, and it's gonna be a balancing act, right? But I do think Black is by far in the lead at this point, and I think Blue needs to see that. And Black here opting for the 2-for-1 sheep makes sense. Maybe not necessarily wanting to go for road so early. Makes me also think that perhaps they don't have a VP in hand because they would be at 7, and then if they got road, they'd be at 9, and then one VP away. Like at the same time, he could still have VP, go for the settle, and then take longest road and win immediately. It's very possible. And given that there have been no real big plays here of dev cards, I think a VP is very possible. But a huge role here. Not much to do though. That's the tragedy. Uh, so it's gonna have to be probably two ore. Yeah, I mean one ore is enough. And passing here makes sense. But you're gonna be at 8, kind of risking it a little bit. I don't know. I would honestly just send it and just go straight ore all the way. But here, what is Brian gonna do? Brian's gonna go for the sheep and dev card. Okay. It's an expensive dev card. I do get it. Just trying to get the robber off your spot, but it could easily go back there. I don't know if it's totally worth. I would go for the city, especially because now you can't even settle anymore because you have 5 settlements down. You'll see at the bottom of the screen there's a 0 next to the house. That means you can't place any more settlements after 5 unless you build more cities, right? So 4 cities to play, you've got to build one to be able to settle again. And and yeah, I mean, I think Blue is way out of it. I think if anything, he's in a position to decide who will end up winning, and that usually is what happens with a lot of these games, right? That third place finisher is in a very influential position because they want to put themselves in a position where they can still win, but a lot of times it's a little bit too late, and they'll end up deciding the fate of the game just by helping one person over the other, right? So it's very much an interesting social dynamic, right? Where 3 players, it's like you're very much vying for that third place's allegiance. With four players, it's a bit tougher to get that through, right? Because there's more people, there's more chaos, there's more going on. It's not as controlled of an environment. So three players is very interesting that way, right? It's very differently played. And then here, trying to maybe offer a trade. Oh no, just trading in completely, which yeah makes sense. And then another dev card, hoping for something better. And then mono, which is not terrible, but you got to be able to use it well. And it'll be kind of tough because wood and brick are in high production on the sport, but you don't really do much with the wood and brick here. So you're gonna have to three for one, and so you got to make sure you time it correctly because you're gonna need a city here for sure with the mono, and yeah, you're gonna want to. Ooh, 13 cards here and 8 cards is spicy. Um, personally, I would go. Personally, I would go for the wood. No, I mean the wood got blocked. I was thinking wood just because like. Oh, okay. And the road out of nowhere from blue, which keeps them in it. Um, okay. The efficient settlement there, probably still going for that brick port, even though the brick port isn't that useful for them. But getting an slight extra protection there, I personally probably would have gone for the three for one port, honestly, because the three for one port is the most versatile, and you don't have any ports, you might as well go for the three for one, right? Um, okay, huge turn. Just gotta make sure it gets through. It could be over. It could be over. It really just depends on what black has here. They have the VP. They can road and take the game. But with 6 brick goes for the dev card. So that means they definitely don't have VP, but they could have picked one up. That 10 doesn't get through. Unfortunate. Um, would have been a huge turn for road. Getting road there and getting to 9 would have absolutely uh, put Brian back in it. And the opportunity for Mono has passed at this point. Now, a brick here is all right. 3 brick. I would actually even go for the mono right here, honestly, on the brick and just lock down. Okay, I do not agree with that. I would totally just lock down longest road here, take the 9, and then hope that things fall your way. Right, you have the mono in hand, but here I think it's too fancy. I think this is too fancy. Yeah, I think it's too fancy because you could place that road at any time, and you can't settle anytime soon. You have to city, so I think that's probably a waste of a road when it comes to the end of the game here. And the 10, huge for blue here, can probably maybe not. See, the issue with the ore setup here is you don't get very much wheat as blue, so especially without the port, even if you get those 10s, it's not going to matter too much because you don't have the wheat to go along with it. So here at 12, gonna need to do some stuff, but at 7, which is very respectable, two depth cards, it's still very much his game. Could come from behind. It's happened very many times before, and here it would have been nice, right, to have those two roads to connect. Unfortunately, cannot make it happen. But here, the easy mono without using the ore there, the easy mono here takes it and should city, and now the settlement opportunity does open up. But I would still prefer to go for road here, and I don't think it'll be possible necessarily, but we're going to see what happens. Yeah, and I think I would go for the extra sheep production, extra wheat production here, but he's going to go for the road, which I actually do get because he's trying to win off of road here, so it does make sense. But my thought personally is just that. There's another mono yet to be played, so I think the wood here, if black just has mono, ooh, road building is huge, and he might just take it away. And in that case, it might have been too late for road to be a factor for red here, because that would have put them at 8, and black is going to be a 10 here if they can get it. They won't get it. Oh, but they might settle. And two, there's a lot of possibilities here. Um, this road battle is very intense, and now this makes me think maybe you shouldn't have gone for Rotus Red, and maybe that was the correct move because everyone's super aggressive. I mean, yeah, the road buildings haven't been played, and it is a road heavy board, so maybe it was wise to kind of leave it as an option but not commit, quite so hard. So I do respect it actually, but it's a tough spot, right? Like, how are you gonna get the win here at the end of the day? You got to get the win, right? Mm. So here, kind of stuck a little bit because of no wheat, but options here are available. You could, if you wanted to connect here, you would end up at 9, which is not great. But you could extend to 10 if you wanted to spend all your resources. I wouldn't do it. But I think here he's going to go for another city, which makes sense. You'll be only one VP away, and oh, and I think he ran out of time here, unfortunately. So that's going to be a very heavy blunder for him. He's going to blame the lag, but who knows if that's true, right? So it's still a very brutal spot for him. It's very tight when going down to the wire here. Maybe only a couple more rotations. But yeah, that's rough. The mana there is very heavy, and 3 extra brick for black there is going to be very nice, an extra free resource that could have gone towards the city for red. Um, and here I think he's going to take it away with the road. Hit extend by 1 and then get to 9 and then might have the VP. He doesn't have the VP, but he's only 1 away, and he needs to either settle on that 4 spots, which he can't actually. He actually needs to city before he can settle. So I think he made a mistake there. Now he's kind of exposed, right? Now everyone knows he needs the city. He needs that card. So block the ore, block the wheat. You could block the sheep, uh, and and the city does get through here very naturally. Now here's an opportunity. One, two. So this is 9 plus. Yeah, he is struggling here. But we can see what he's seeing, right? So at least we can empathize. But trying to build the extra road to try to see, or to try to settle for the win here. So yeah, the road play won't work because you'll at best high. But it's so close. It's so close. I actually don't know. Yeah, I'm not really sure what I would do here. That's the tough part. You just gotta hope, right? So we're hoping for a 2, a 10, a 3, um, a 5 would work, and that's about it, actually. But that's a lot of numbers that will win, and none of them hit. It's a 12, so can't do much. Gotta pass and hope for the best. And the robber gets placed. That at least means that it's likely black won't get a win here, but you still never know. The good thing is they can't settle, right? So even though they connected all the way down, they can't settle on that 4 wood. They're gonna have to city. They're gonna have to, yeah. I mean, it's probably a 10. And, see, I think, yeah, and and it is to 12. Just keep in mind, I also I blanked and forgot that it was to 12 for a second, but still a bit of game to be played. But Still a very close one, right? And I think black is still in the best spot. Um, and I think maybe that's why black thought that they had won before. Maybe they also forgot. So that could be a VP in hand, which means they need two more, which they can get by sitting and settling. And they do lock down the longest road here at 15, so no point in going for it. But we can get some efficient extra settlement spots. Uh, so there's one there, and road settle on the 9 to 10, and city for the win. City or dev card to get a VP for the win. And here I would just dev card, dev card, dev card. And if I get a road, I place it and dev card, dev card, dev card as much as I can. It's a huge roll, huge, huge roll. And here I think, ooh, I think you have to road settle, but he's gonna want a dev card. But the road settle is so tempting, you know. He's gonna go for the win, which I respect. Tragically, only gets a night. Can't do anything else. And three there, which is hugely clutch. If it can get through, then it'll be road settle, and that'll take us to 11. And that's a night. Gotta play the night. Gotta play the night. And gotta hit black. And fair enough, that's a good spot to hit for the 2 for 1. Woodport. It's gotta be a road settle, and he forgot that he doesn't have he has a 3 for 1, and he's gonna go for it. Just one more, which is fair. I think it makes sense trying to pull and tragically another night. The game does not love us today, and he's gonna go again for it. Um, I think he figures he can get the roads at any time, so he wants to get the ore while he still can. If he can get the VP, it would be huge. But he changes his mind last second, and he gets the settlement off even with the lag. That was a tense moment. And now sitting at a public 11, um, one night in hand. It's been kind of unlucky with the dev card pulls, but that happens sometimes. That's the nature of the game. And here, right, the paths to victory for both black and red are going to be dev carding for the VP or sitting for the VP. So um, I'm going to assume that black is at 10 here. I think that's a safe assumption, but we don't really know because until a city, we won't know. They have bad discard, so unlucky here for blue in this game. Not really getting the rolls that they want. The three hasn't really come through with the wheat, and I think the ports, the ports have been not utilized as well as they could have, in my opinion. Building a settlement makes sense. Getting the extra feed production and the brick, placing it back on the 8 wood makes sense, and stealing from black. Getting a road here, which doesn't help too much. You can't even settle anymore, so it's got to be a city here. And 11 wins, like Brian says here. And running out of time here. And just not able to decide between those two spots. I think I would have gone for the 11 11, I don't know. I would have, it's tough. It's tough. I would have gone for 5 brick, honestly, because the 3 for 1 port is massive because you can just trade it in for an ore, and it's basically about the same production as the ore. Because 2 times 2 is 4, 4 times 1 is 4. So that's how that math works. Okay, so let's see. Can the 11 come? Even if the 11 comes out, it won't matter. Hmm, should be interesting. A lot of wood on the board. A lot of sheep on the board. Not super helpful. Got a pass here. Nothing would have been super helpful though, except for maybe a 9. And he's calling GG here, and I think it's fair enough. Because at 10 cards here, it's got to be done with the ports and everything. Oh, and buying a death card, so he did not have it, and he was fishing. So, what does that mean? It's hard to say how many DPs he's at, right? Because we have no death cards left, basically. Like, he has to have. He's trying to figure out now what is exactly in Black's hand. 10 cards here for red. Now, right, like again, we're trying to city, we're trying to pull for that for VPs. Um, I don't think everyone's pulled for VPs, and we're in the last third of the dev card deck. I could pull for VPs here and just gamble because it's gonna be hard to actually city here. So I think that's what's gonna happen unless they can. Oh, and the thing, and it gets through, and I think this is it. I think this is it. Yeah, he can city and takes it up. Wow, wow. For the record, I do not know who's going to win this before I started watching, but Brian did send me his perspective, so this is a great win, right? It's kind of a two-headed battle from the start, not from the start, but kind of from the mid game, and it was actually very impressive of Brian to pull this off with no VPs pulled, right? Like think about all the knights that were pulled, trying to get the VP over and over and over again. And finally, Black here sitting with 10, so only had 1 VP in hand, which is also tragic for him. So kind of a tough game all around, but it was fun. It was great commentating, and I had a good time, and I hope you guys did too. And now we have our final set. Brian Red here. Brian will take the last spot in the finals, and hopefully, finally, get his first tournament win for Robert Catan. We'll see you at the next one. Hey, take care. Peace.